The movie starts off with Si-young driving off at a high speed somewhere in a car. As she reaches an auto shop, she steps out of it dressed in a red dress and high heels with bloodstains on her legs. She walks into the shop and takes a sledgehammer. She drags it towards a man who is working on a car. After confirming it was the person, Jong Soek, that she was looking for, she smashes him with the hammer. A flashback takes us back to the time when Si-young returns home from prison. As she is trying to find the house, she is greeted warmly by her little autistic sister, Yoon-hae. They go inside the house, and while enjoying a nice dinner, Si-young gives her little sister a gift, a pretty hairpin, with a promise that she will bring a prettier one next time. Later that night, in bed, Si-young tells her sister that they can go visit their parents' grave on weekend, but Yoon-hae wants to go the next day and tells her that she hates going to the school. Not paying much attention to what her sister is saying, Si-young thinks it is normal for every kid to hate school and reminds Yoon-hae about the promise their father had made them do, that they will stay together and Yoon-hae will always obey Si-young. The next morning, Yoon-hae leaves for school, but leaves a red dress, red heels, and a note for Si-young, telling her how much she loves her and has waited for her to come back from the prison. Yoon-hae mentions that she is happy that both of them will be living together forever now. At school, as soon as the class ends, Yoon-hae gets surrounded by the school bullies who drag her with themselves to somewhere. On the other hand, Si-young is trying to get a job and rejoin her former boss. Even though his boss praises Si-young's strength and fighting skills, he refuses to give a job considering her criminal past. Meanwhile, the bullies take Yoon-hae to a karaoke place. She keeps asking for them to let her go because she wants to go home, but the bullies are up to something more sinister and ask her to take her clothes off, while Si-young waits for Yoon-hae on the street. Moments later, we see Yoon-hae sitting with the bullies and some boys who keep touching her inappropriately. Those boys then proceed to use Yoon-hae to lure an old man into a hotel room, making him think she is a prostitute. However, as soon as it happens and the old man is trying to force himself on Yoon-hae, the boys enter the room beating him up for trying to force himself on a minor. However, it is later revealed that what the guys were actually after was the old man's money, and since he was caught with a minor in a hotel room, there is no way that he will complain about the lost money to anyone. And this goes on all night, with the boys making Yoon-hae meet old men and then stealing their money afterwards. While all this is happening, Si-young keeps trying to reach her sister, but is unable to do so. She even tries finding her everywhere, from gaming places to the streets, but Yoon-hae is nowhere to be found. When Yoon-hae does not return even the next day, Si-young goes to the school wearing the red dress and heels Yoon-hae had given to her. She looks into her classroom and eventually goes to the teacher to ask about Yoon-hae. However, the teacher dismisses her, saying that teenagers usually run away from home and Yoon-hae will return soon. Finding nothing about Yoon-hae from the school, Si-young is about to leave when she is stopped by Yoon-hae's classmate, who shows her a video of Yoon-hae being forced to take her clothes off by the bullies. After the school ends, the bullies leave for the karaoke again, and that is where Si-young confronts them. At first, the girls think of her as a weak woman, but after receiving some nice blows from Si-young, they take her to one of the guys who was forcing Yoon-hae into going into hotel rooms with older men. After reaching the guy's home, he tries to hit Si-young, not knowing that she actually is an all-time fighting champion. However, it is not long till he realizes that fighting against Si-young is no use, so he just gives her all the information he has. It turns out that the last man they tried scamming was not a typical person, but a gangster named Sangman. So rather than him getting caught in the boys' scam, Sangman forced them into selling Yoon-hae to him. From there, So-young gets a card of Sangman, which he had given to the boys when they sold Yoon-hae. After getting a lead, Si-young continuously calls the number on the card, but gets no response. Tired of finding her sister, she tries complaining to the police and asking for their help, but soon realizes that the police will be of no help at all. So Si-young decides to take matters into her own hands. Meanwhile, Sangman meets a human trafficker and sells Yoon-hae to him. While they are making their deal, the human trafficker's assistant is seen slapping Yoon-hae to teach her discipline as she was crying and asking them to let her go. On the other hand, Si-young, trying to find her sister, goes to the address on the business card the boy gave to her. However, there she finds no information from the man except Sangman's car's number, so she leaves the place with the man's car and a stun gun. While all this is happening, the human trafficker comes into a room and tries assaulting Yoon-hae. However, In the process of doing so, Yoon-hai bites him in the most problematic place, and he cries out of pain. So he calls Sangman and asks her to take Yoon-hai back, because apparently the kid is too crazy for him to handle. Back with Si-young, she goes to the building where Sangman lives and finds his car parked in the parking lot, so she waits there till he comes back. As Sangman leaves the building, Si-young follows him, eventually hitting him with her car. Getting out of the car, she teases Sangman into unconsciousness. Moments later, when Sangman wakes up, he finds Si-young strangling his neck while sitting on the back seat. She asks him to drive her to Yoon-hai. However, things get out of hand when Sangman hits the car on the side. Both of them get involved in a fight in the car with Si-young struggling a little. Eventually, her need to save her sister wins over when she breaks Sangman's arm, knocking him unconscious. She then puts him into the trunk and then calls the human trafficker pretending to be Sangman's assistant. However, she gets to know the bad news that Yoon-hai has already been sold to someone else, so Si-young rushes to the human trafficker's place. As she reaches, she gets to meet the assistant first, who is wearing Yoon-hai's hairpin, which enrages Si-young, making him hit the assistant first and then asking her to take her to the man. Unfortunately, Yoon-hai had already been sold to someone else, which made Si-young mad, leading to her attacking the man. They get involved in a fight with both of them struggling to take a lead. As she throws the man over the table, he gets hold of a pair of scissors which he stabs in Si-young's gut. Thankfully, her bag saves the day, and eventually Si-young gets to defeat the man by strangling her in between her thighs. From there, Si-young gets to know that Yoon-hai tried reaching her, but since she wasn't at home, the phone rang but no one picked up. So she contacted someone at the supermarket near her home. However, Yoon-hai was handed over to a young man in a black suit who came to the human trafficker with a code name Lucky Supermarket. After knowing all this, Si-young takes the number of the client and rushes to the mini-mart near her house. Meanwhile, Yoon-hai is in the car with a man in a suit who asks her to rest as they have a long way to go. Let's call him Suits. On the way, he stops at a gas station, and seeing Yoon-hai sleeping peacefully, he decides to go inside without waking her up. However, Yoon-hai, who was only pretending to sleep, escapes as soon as she gets a chance and climbs on a bus nearby. The man, however, stops the bus at the right time and drags Yoon-hai out of it, telling others that she is his mentally unstable sister. While dragging Yoon-hai into the car, Suits gets a call from a politician, Councilman Park, and it is revealed that he is actually working for someone else. While Suits takes Yoon-hai into an abandoned building, Si-young is seen driving when she starts hearing the human trafficker's cries from inside the car's trunk. So she gets out of the car and tries talking to him, but the man keeps blaming it on her sister, leading Si-young to break his arm, smashing the car's trunk into things again and again, and then eventually dragging Sangman out of the car and leaving him there alone. Meanwhile, Suits and Yoon-hai are sitting in the building, with him thinking about how the Councilman Park forced him into doing the things that he is doing. Park wants his revenge from Si-young, so he has ordered Suits to kidnap her little sister first. Thus, her kidnapping was not random at all. Suits, on the other hand, wants to help the sister, but is afraid of Park at the same time. In the meantime, trying to find her sister, Si-young goes to the mini-market near her home. There, she finds out about how the store owner used to harass her sister while she went there to get her everyday stuff. All enraged, she breaks off his fingers, giving him exactly what he deserves. From the owner, she gets to know that it was not just him, but two of his friends too, who sexually assaulted Yoon-hai. So she decides to confront them one by one, starting from the photographer, who, after getting the beating of his life from Si-young, gives her the address of the workshop owner. And this takes us back to the opening scene, where Si-young in red dress and high heels with bloodstains on her legs was entering the auto shop. She ends up smashing the man's hand with the sledgehammer, and that's where Si-young gets to know it was all the doing of Councilman Park. The man later confesses that 3 years ago, he assaulted Yoon-hai inside Park's car while it was being repaired in his workshop. When Park's car was finally fixed, he accidentally discovered Yoon-hai's underwear. When contacted, the workshop owner claimed the pants belonged to a girl with a mental disability. Since then, Park, the councilman, assaulted Yoon-hai, and this explained why Yoon-hai frequently returned home late, causing Si-young great worry. However, Yoon-hai never told her sister the truth. One day, Si-young decided to investigate the reason behind her sister's frequent late arrivals. After school, she spotted Yoon-hai in a luxurious car heading to a hotel. There, she caught Park giving her sister drugs and assaulting her. Si-young used a screwdriver to defend her sister, injuring Park's eye. but her attempt to rescue Yoon Hai landed her in jail because Park manipulated the facts as a politician. And after her release from prison, Park ordered Suits to eliminate Si-young and Yoon Hai. Back in the present, Si-young obtains Suits' phone number and contacts him to know Councilman Park's whereabouts. Despite some hesitation, Suits, fed up with Park, disclosed the councilman's location. She finds Councilman Park at a private estate surrounded by bodyguards, but that wasn't enough to stop her. Si-young takes out a bodyguard with a taser before sneaking inside. When she confronts Park with a gun and demands to know Yoon Hai's whereabouts, he summons his bodyguards, forcing Si-young to fight them off one by one while Park escapes in his car. Si-young, being the fighter, defeats all the guards after a challenging battle and pursues Councilman Park. She rams her car into his and manages to shoot him in the shoulder. However, Park still manages to escape somehow. Hardly escaping from there, Park calls Suits and orders him to make Yoon Hai consume a deadly amount of drugs. He also instructs him to gather his henchmen as he wants to kill Si-young. However, Suits, feeling otherwise, calls Si-young and reveals Park's location. As Si-young arrives, she is ambushed. Later, we see that Suits is brutally attacked and killed by Park for trying to help the sisters. On the other side of the story, Si-young survives the ambush and cleans herself up in a public restroom. She prepares herself for a final try to rescue her sister, while the councilman fixes his fake eye waiting for Si-young's arrival. Later, as they are about to bury Suits' body, Si-young drives into the councilman and his henchmen with her car. As she stops, they smash her windows and try to attack her, but Si-young's fighting skills allow her to defeat them all one by one. At this point, the councilman retreats inside with Yoon Hai, while Si-young continues to fight Park's henchmen, but they eventually overwhelm her. Park shows Yoon Hai to Si-young from the window. However, unable to fight, Si-young grows exhausted and collapses. One of the henchmen prepares to slit Si-young's throat, but she wrestles the knife away and resumes fighting, as not even her body can stop her from saving her sister. Overconfident, the gang suffers defeat, and Si-young, now eager to get to Park, enters the house and finds her sister barely conscious. As the councilman attacks her from behind, Si-young fights back, eventually beating him to death. With their safety assured, Si-young and her sister share a loving hug before heading home. Despite her injuries, Si-young tries fighting the pain, determined to get her sister home safely. With that, the movie ends.